we are in the virtual film company studio to talk about technology and the ever evolving what is going to last and what is getting scrapped by the wayside. And Sora, who we had such faith in that it was so impressive the dedication that Digitally Wired went in there and worked away. I did some creating in there. It was very powerful of what you could do, and they had promised so many things, but you wonder how much energy they were burning up and how much that engine was costing to run daily, to where they've decided that they need to move on. I mean, how do you feel about this? Another program closing their doors.
I think it should actually be illegal. I think there should be laws in place that if you decide to start a technology company that has a community component, that you are obligated to keep it running for X number of years, no matter how much you make or don't make out of it, because these companies succeed based on the poor sods like me that put time and effort into building community. And that's not to say that, we didn't have a lot of fun creating these videos, but, it's very disappointing that the community is going away, because all of us were starting to get to know each other. We were starting to build friendships again. But that's typical, we've seen it with Alt Space VR. I saw it previously with eWorld. I've seen it with countries that, all of a sudden there's a revolution and things change. So, it really is life. There's no certainty when it comes to life. But, if you look at it from the business perspective, it makes a lot of sense, because generating AI video is a major resource hog, and it affects pretty much everything else. So if people are doing text queries or writing reports or whatever they may be doing, and you have I don't know how many people they had on Sora 2, I should say, but they gave us the ability to create a number of free videos every day. And I certainly took advantage of that, and I think other people did too. So I'm sure that, if you look at the amount of resources used, it probably exceeded 10%. And 10% is huge in terms of just electricity and what it costs to maintain servers like that. And this is one of the reasons that we are seeing China succeed in this space over the United States, because China has better data centers and electrical coordination, and so can offer data center users a much cheaper rate than they can get here in the United States. But one also has to take the cost of living into account, which is very different in China. So,
and any company that's going to take Digitally Wired on as a client knows that their resources are going to be put to task, because they know that he is going to use a good amount of resources to, make things go. I think that there was probably, a percentage of the people using it that weighed it down, and I believe that you were one of those people.
Yes, here we go. Mystery trying to make people feel guilty again. And I actually don't. I admit that AI does use some resources, or quite a few resources, but I think that we need to be intelligent enough to look at alternative sources of power and better ways of doing things, and not just dismiss it outright.
What do you got to say about his videos that he made over there? Like, now what is he going to do? Where's he going to go to generate these visions that he sees?
There's others. Broad. He's spoken about as being the alternative, but there's a few others more than that. And China has definitely got best one, in my opinion. See dance and get hold of it. It's worthwhile.
Well, it's a
But
great product.
can you get hold of it? This is the question.
Well, you can get hold of it through various third parties like A-Cool and others. I think that's where we're going in terms of this industry, and is possibly, another reason that OpenAI got out of the video business. Although, if you go to the Sora site, you would not believe that they're getting out of the video business, because it's almost like everything is, business as usual. And perhaps there's people that don't believe it's going to happen and think that it's all fake news. But
my if I was to throw my conspiracy opinion hat, into the ring, I would say that you and many other people did an amazing job training their thing, because that's what you need. You need the prompts, you need all of the bandwidth and what was created, and all of this work. And I feel like they're like, thank you for all of that training that you did on our system, because one of the things that they're not needing to do now is they had all of these characters that you were going to be able to create content with. And I think that they did not want like a dog chasing Superman up a tree and barking at it and he's shaking terrified into the they got these characters that they've built up, and they don't want you to have the ability to put them in a vulnerable state the way that they would not want their characters represented from a trademark and branding perspective. So I would say that they are still going to have all of their employees and on the team, and they now have a generator machine that they can use for their special effects that will save them millions of dollars in their video production. But that is just an opinion.
Well, it's an opinion because part of closing down Sora 2 was canceling a $1 billion deal with Disney that would have allowed them to use Disney characters. And it wasn't Disney that canceled this, it was OpenAI. So, they had an opportunity here to go with it, but it's just too bloody expensive. It's, allowing people to make free videos. There's no business case that would compensate for all of the power, the GPU resources, the cooling. I mean, it just becomes exorbitantly expensive to do videos. So, whatever the reason, and I'm sure there's a number of reasons they pulled out of this deal, the fact is they're not a video company. And there are video companies out there like Runway and others. And of course, the conglomerate of them all, Google, which has its fingers in pretty much every pie, has its Vio video generator, which is extremely good. And, I guess it is a strike against America in some ways that, the best video generators out there live in China and not in the United States, which is kind of sad. So, oh well, right?
Well, who knows what the future entails? Who knows what's going to happen next? What is the next thing to shutter and close its doors in this technology resource? Here we go. Thank you for another packed audience in the metaverse that just loves tuning in and seeing what we have.
Yes,
And
thank
it just
you
goes
for
to
coming.
show you cannot rely on this technology, especially if it's connected to AI. You can put your faith into it and then it can be snapped away from you in a moment. But then again, that could be the reason because people abuse and misuse these things. Make the most stupid, idiotic videos, not talking to about digitally wired, but people in general make
Okay.
offensive and upsetting videos that will put people in a very depressing mood.
Mm.
It's
Alien
the use
intelligence has
and
spoken.
abuse.
Yes.
Use and abuse should be
Yes.
given some thought and respect to others and
Mm.
acknowledge copyright laws.
Yes.
Of course, if it's American, they're after a big profit. If that doesn't happen, goodbye.
There we go. The alien has spoken.
Well, join us again next week for more cheerful discussion about happy things.
Peace is coming, everybody. Peace is on its way. Yes. I believe I feel the radioactive